The Trump administration's push to impose tariffs on Canadian-made prescription drugs is a reckless gamble with American lives. While tariffs are often used as political tools to pressure trade partners, targeting the pharmaceutical supply chain is a dangerous move that could have dire consequences for patients, pharmacists, and the broader healthcare system. Experts are sounding the alarm. These tariffs won't just raise prices. They could trigger drug shortages, disrupt life-saving treatments, and leave patients scrambling for essential medications. At stake are hundreds of drugs that are either primarily or exclusively manufactured in Canada and shipped to the U.S. Bupropion, used for major depressive disorder, ibolizumab, a last-resort treatment for multi-drug-resistant HIV, and sotalol, a medication for deadly heart rhythm issues. These are not optional or replaceable drugs. A sudden tariff-induced price hike could push costs beyond the reach of some patients, while supply chain disruptions could mean these medications disappear from pharmacy shelves entirely. The impact of this decision will be immediate and severe. The U.S. already struggles with medication shortages, a crisis that has worsened in recent years. The Senate Homeland Security Committee even declared the growing number of drug shortages a national security threat. Supply chains for pharmaceuticals are notoriously delicate, and even minor disruptions can cause cascading failures. Tariffs would further destabilize an already fragile system, potentially leading to widespread drug shortages in a matter of weeks. The financial burden on patients will be another crushing blow. Canada exports approximately $3 billion in pharmaceuticals to the U.S. each year. A 25% tariff on those drugs would add an estimated $750 million in extra costs. That financial strain will ripple down the supply chain, first hitting wholesalers and pharmacies, but ultimately falling on the shoulders of American consumers. Patients who rely on these drugs daily will be forced to either pay significantly more or go without, a choice that is neither fair nor ethical. And this isn't just a problem for Americans. Canadians will also suffer. Pharmaceutical supply chains are global, meaning that disruptions in one country can quickly spread to others. If the U.S. enacts tariffs, Canada could face retaliatory measures or production shifts that create new shortages within its own healthcare system. Some of the most vulnerable populations, such as hospital patients relying on 4 medications, would be at the highest risk. Unlike consumer goods, pharmaceuticals cannot simply be relocated or mass-produced overnight. Drug manufacturing is a complex process that requires years of planning, regulatory approvals, and specialized infrastructure. If Canadian companies are forced to scale back production or shift focus due to tariffs, rebuilding that capacity elsewhere will not be quick or easy. Patients cannot afford to wait years for a new factory to be built while life-saving drugs remain unavailable. What makes this policy even more reckless is the lack of a clear alternative. If Trump wants to make the U.S. pharmaceutical industry less dependent on foreign suppliers, he should invest in domestic drug production, not sabotage existing supply chains with tariffs. The idea that the U.S. can suddenly become self-sufficient in drug manufacturing is a fantasy. The reality is that American patients rely on a complex web of international suppliers, and disrupting that network will only create chaos. This is a political stunt that puts lives at risk. Drug prices are already a major concern in the U.S., and this move will only make them worse. Patients who are already struggling to afford their prescriptions could soon find themselves facing even higher costs or empty pharmacy shelves. In the worst-case scenario, those who rely on critical medications could be left with no options at all. If these tariffs go into effect, the fallout will be swift and brutal. Pharmacists will face shortages, doctors will have to scramble for alternatives, and patients will suffer the most. This is not a policy driven by sound economics or public health concerns. It is a reckless move that prioritizes political posturing over people's lives. The question now is whether policymakers will recognize the dangers before it's too late, or whether Americans will be left paying the ultimate price.